Here we go, live in downtown Bakersfield, California. This is I Love You, Say It Back. It's the podcast. I'm your host, Vic D. That is our producer, a little bit under the weather, but still rocking and rolling today. Eric, how you doing?
I'm just kidding myself.
I'm just dying over here.
Yeah, I'm catching whatever everyone else is catching, or
Not me,
but I
not
feel good.
ice.
I feel like
Not this immune system.
that's what I said a week ago.
Yeah, but you came back from a snowboarding trip, and that maybe may have had something to do with it. Maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah,
I don't believe that whole like, oh, it's cold outside, and you're just gonna make you sick. I feel like I heard that all my life. It's like, I don't know.
is it colder than you're used to remembering in Bakersfield around right now? It is, right?
So last night it got down to like 32, 33 degrees. That's cold.
I heard some
damn.
school got canceled today for like
there was.
cold.
Yeah, it's crazy. Lots going on. Glad you guys are back with us. First recorded episode of 2024. So that's gonna, you know, when you were in school and they had you like write down the date, and you're like, damn it, and that's where those erasers really kicked in, and it was like, damn it, it took me, takes you to me personally, it took me about a month to get used to writing the new date like consistently. I'd be like, I do it once, and then I'd be like, the next like 3 times, I'd be like, it's 2023 still. And then it's like, erase, check it off, 2024. Let's get used to that. Glad you're with us, wherever you are, however you're listening. Hopefully it's in the car. Hopefully got your friends, your family. Tell them about the podcast. Tell them, let them know. Listen, I just posted this on Instagram a minute ago. I was like, I promise we're getting a little bit better every episode, even if it's maybe something you don't notice. We are learning something. So it's been a fun journey to be on. We have an absolutely loaded show today. I'm excited about this one. Lots to talk about. So we're going to get into things that, we're kicking off the new year, things that we need to leave behind in 2023. That is no longer useful for me. That is no longer something that I want or need in the new year. A specific type of person you need to leave behind. We're going to kick the show off with that in just a minute. I'm disappointed in the Epstein list, and not for the reasons that you were probably thinking. I think one of the most fascinating and interesting stories of last year is the Stanley Cup. Not the hockey, the Stanley hydro vacuum-sealed cups. Like, ladies, and particularly my target audience, those Stanley Cups drove you wild. I was influenced. One of the most remarkable marketing stories, so we'll talk about that. What else we got here today? The Katt Williams, we're going to touch on that. I'll give you an update on how the fantasy football thing turned out between myself and Eric. Why are you laughing? Shut up. United Airlines. It's like I'm going to be like, just a quick little, let's move on. United Airlines door comes loose. In the story that was kind of cool that came out of that. Golden Globes are on last night. We'll talk about that. But yeah, we got your fun facts here in case you didn't know. And of course, we'll wrap it all up with trivia. Let's get into the show. Before we do, I want to thank our sponsors at Rev Nutrition. Love them. That code is still good. 20% off. Mention the podcast. I love you. Say it back. You've got your New Year's goals, resolutions. Everything you want to do is in front of you. Kick it off. You want a fat burner? I was watching this video that they posted, and it was like fasted cardio with a little define, and I've done it before. You feel like a skinty minty. You feel fantastic. Whatever your weight loss goals, you want to actually put on weight, put on that mass, whatever it is, they've got you taken care of all over Bakersfield. Use the code I love you, say it back, or mention the podcast. They'll take care of you 20% off. Also, big shout out Mattress Space. Our boy C's still holding it down out there. Go down there. Best prices. New year. New sleep. Invest in yourself. Best thing you can do. Get you some good sleep. And go down to the Mattress Space. So, yeah. We are live in downtown Bakersfield. I mentioned a second ago that this was our first show that we're doing at the top of the year. Now, I wanted to start with this. Because as you kick off the new year, as you kick off new beginnings, new year, new me, We've all heard it. We've all been there. Hell, you may be one of those people who's like, this year, we talked about it last podcast. This year's going to be a brand new me. It's going to be the year that my flower flourishes and blooms, and I'm going to become the beautiful butterfly that I deserve to be. Great. Wonderful. But there are certain things that we need to leave behind. One classic example that I've always used, and clearly we're not doing enough of leaving behind because it's still a functioning company. Arrowhead Water, absolutely disgusting. When you rank Arrowhead Water, it's got to be at the bottom of everyone's list. No one understands it. Arrowhead Water, you can stay your ass. Not only in 2023, you should have stayed your ass in whatever year you were founded. I feel like Arrowhead Water is definitely one of those, like, since 1913, like, oh. People have been drinking that shit for that long. Leave that behind. That's got to go. But another thing we got to leave behind in 2023 is big light people. Vic, what's a big light people? What's a big light person?
1909, Arrowhead Water.
Yeah, okay, look, I totally took a guess and I was off by 4 years. That's unbelievable.
Wow.
Vic, what's a big light person? What are big light people? I'm glad you asked. The big light people got to be the most annoying people that you can ever deal with, live with, associate with. The big light people are the people who, when you're in your bedroom or in any room that really has any chill room, living room, whatever, that has the big light, the light that comes pretty much standard in every home, the top of the roof, right? And let's say you are in your room at night and you're watching TV, as most people do, like, oh, it's my comfort show. I fall asleep to it, whatever. But then you got that big ass light that's just bearing down, just like you feel like a food that's trying to be heated up, like it's just beaming down on you. Big light people got to go. You need to leave them behind in 2023 because it's really all about you either let the light of the TV be the light of the room once you're settled in for the night, or you get yourself a couple cool lamps and you set the vibe. I'm a big vibe guy. I hate the big light in the room is the most annoying thing. You're sitting there watching TV and you just got these big lights just beaming down on you. Like we've got these lights right here, but I'm working, I'm putting this podcast together. You need to see what's going on. When I'm in my bed at night, the first thing to go is that damn big light. Big light people need to stay in 2023. You either turn on the lamp or you let the TV from the light be from the TV light be the light for the entire room. It's the most annoying. You're watching TV, it's just beaming down on you, it hurts your eyes. How can you? And then here's the worst part. Let's say you're at night watching TV, getting ready to fall asleep. You got the big light on. Unless you're one of these people who has one of those, like, oh, the clapper or some kind of Alexa, turn it off. You got to get your ass up to go turn that off. And that is the worst feeling. It's the impending doom if you're like, damn, I'm either going to fall asleep with this big light on, or I got to get my ass up from this comfortable position that I'm in, and I got to go turn that off. There's nothing worse. I don't know what's worse, really. Being comfortable, being ready to fall asleep, and having to turn off that light, or when you get that sweet, like, comfort spot, and suddenly you're like, I need to go pee. Oh, that's the worst. It's the worst. What's worse? I don't know. You tell me, Eric. What do you think?
Have you ever been so comfortable where when the light doesn't matter, you're like, I'm sleeping, like, with this light on today, or you have to go to the bathroom and you're like, I'm gonna wait till this goes away.
Oh,
I'm going to sleep. Like, sometimes you can never get that comfort position back.
It's tough. I will say, I actually think that the big light is worse because you get a beautiful sense of relief when you go to I don't know why I'm getting the hiccups right now, but that beautiful sense of relief, that pee is going to set you up for a great night's rest. You can kind of have a sleep bit, you do it, you feel like, and then you go to bed. But that big light's just sitting in the back, and you put it off so long. You're like, it could be like hours. You could be like, but to your point, that sleep, that when you fall asleep with all the lights on and you wake up like at 4 a.m. and you're like,
I hate that too.
Well, I was like, that sleep kind of hits different because clearly
does.
when you fell asleep, you were like, I don't even care. I'm so tired. I don't even care. You wake up, you're like, why are all these lights on? Is it 2 p.m.?
Yeah, that sleep when you wake up, you're like, what time is it? Oh shit, do I gotta go to work? Whatever that is, that sleep right there is 100% the best.
Yeah. So a couple things leave behind in 2023. Arrowhead water. We've been beating this drum for years. And big light people. Get yourself a lamp.
Arrowhead water is one of the healthiest waters you can.
I don't want to hear that.
I mean, serious. That's why it tastes so bad, because it's healthy. It's 100% spring water.
No, that makes all the sense in the world, because it goes back to the thing of like, generally, if something is good for you or healthy for you, then it's not going to be the greatest tasting thing. It's like kale. If I told you, hey, would you rather have this cheeseburger or this kale? It's like, well, I'd rather have the cheeseburger. It's like the pros and cons, right? The kale is going to be great for you, but it's not going to taste good. Burger is going to be horrible for you, but it's going to be delicious. In fact, I'm probably going to get In-N-Out for lunch.
But for me, I think Crystal Geyser is very similar. I think it's spring water, so I would probably go with that.
Yeah, Crystal Geyser is also kind of nasty, but it's significantly better than Arrowhead.
And it's spring water as well, so it's just a different type of spring water.
Do you have enough to rank your waters?
I would if I gotta go taste and stuff, I go with like that essential, Fiji.
Is that the one? The essential, is that the one with like the pH levels?
Yeah, that
pus.
The plus, it has like a little.
Oh, I thought you said pus. I was like, pus in the water. I was like, people just Dr. Pimple Popper.
Essential, Fiji. This is expensive, and then I don't know. I don't drink a lot of water anyway. It's kind of a bad thing.
Maybe that could be a good resolution.
Yeah,
it's good for you. So yeah, that's how we kick off today's show. Just something to keep in mind. Leave it
real
behind.
Quick. Just a quick answer. Do you have to have the light on to eat food if it's at night and you're watching a movie? I have to. I cannot eat food in the dark.
But I also
with the TV
don't.
light.
But I also don't eat like when I'm in bed. I don't eat I don't eat food. I don't.
I'm not being in your bedroom. I'm saying say you're watching a movie at night in your living room. And you kind of want the lights off, and you have a plate in front of you on the front table. Do you need the light on to eat?
Yeah, and I think now that I think about it, the perfect example is going to Studio Movie Grill.
Yeah,
it's a cool concept. Be like, eat and drink while you watch the movie. Yeah. But then I'm like, I like sauces and I like all this stuff. I'm dipping my wing and I'm like, oh, that's a good amount of ranch. And then I get it. It's like, yeah, you got no ranch at all. Or the whole thing is drenched in ranch.
Yeah. I feel like I have to see my food to taste it the way it's supposed to taste.
That's interesting. Does that apply to everything?
Well, I mean, there's obviously you eat in the dark sometimes, but
when you're making love, do you need to see something?
No, not at all.
You can go in the dark. I need to see what's going on.
No, I mean say a burger, bro.
I'm not. We're not talking about burgers.
I know what you're talking about. But I'm saying, yeah, exactly. The lights can be off when you're eating sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So, but if I have something that's good to eat, say, I don't know how good your mom cooks, but if your mom makes a bomb dinner, and you want to see what's in the bowl or on the plate that you're grabbing from, and it's like, oh man, I want this piece of meat with this bapa. And some right, whatever it is.
Right, the portion's got to be right.
Exactly. That's just me.
I could not agree more with that. So that point. But going back to it, when we're talking about the other thing, are you a visual guy? I need to have some. What the perfect light is TV light when you're doing the deed.
Oh yeah.
When you're doing the deed.
Yeah, it's a perfect amount of light. You don't feel like.
Imagine having the big light when you try. I'd be like, hell, I'm like.
I don't know. I think it also depends how comfortable you are with your partner, and you could right in the morning when all the lights coming in.
Well, that's
winter,
different.
you
Like
know,
the natural light in the morning is different than having the
like,
damn big light.
Just say during the day. I think they're all different vibes.
Morning vibes.
Morning's different, midday's different, night with the lights on or off, depending on what you're really, going for.
Yeah.
Some people don't like eye contact. Some people don't want to be seen at all.
Yeah, I gotta see what's going on. I gotta see that booty. Let's just call it what it is.
I'm for both. Bro. Honestly, I'm more of like whatever feels right in the mood I'm with. So that wasn't on the list.
Yeah, that was not that was a little off topic there. But yeah, I mean, big light people stay your ass in 2023. And Arrowhead, what? Those are probably the same person. People who drink Arrowhead water also are big light people. Get the fuck out. I'm disappointed in the Epstein list. And I know what you're thinking. Vic, me too. I can't believe that these people would be on this list and associating themselves with Epstein and all that. Like, that part's not great. But that's not what I'm referring to. I'm talking about what we actually talked about on the podcast. Remember, Eric? I said, I want there to be a list. I want there to be blah, 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 blah. Here's a list. Make it easy. Give me the names. I need to know who to bash. Then they dropped this whole...
We were here together, remember?
Yeah.
I'm looking, it's a transcript.
Yeah, it's like a whole it's a script of it's like a movie roll. It's like, and then this person, Bill Clinton, walked in, and it's like, okay, great, Bill Clinton. I didn't want to have to sort through and sift through this entire damn monologue. I want the names. Bill Clinton. Who's the guy? Hawking. That one was shocking.
Oh, the Stephen Hawking's was crazy.
Oh,
little kids having an orgy with them, and he's in a wheelchair and can't even move. What
Okay,
the hell was that?
Fucking weirdo. Like, everyone could let him have it. Let's see. And good. All right, it's fair game on this guy now. You see the memes that came out were absolutely hilarious, and everybody felt bad about cooking him in the past because of his condition. But all of a sudden, you find out that this guy's a pedo, and everyone's like, well, forget this guy. We thought he was one of these great, brilliant minds. And so many of these people that were on this thing are just kind of like, I do find it interesting because I could be totally way wrong. But I feel like some of these, and I read some of these reports, they're like, some of these people just went to these places like unaware that this stuff was going on. It was almost like, hey, all the celebrities are going here. Like, it's almost like a new nightclub that opens up in your city. Right? Where it's like, oh, this place just opened. All the cool people are going there. Like, and you can be like, oh, well, let's go see what's going on. And then I think a lot of these people found out, they're like, oh, this is what's going on here. Like, no, I'm not cool with it. I'm not coming back. But they still get mentioned in that whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is crazy, and it gets
Okay, you said Cameron Diaz was even on there, right?
Yeah, Cameron Diaz was mentioned in this whole thing. There was people... Whoopi Goldberg, Richard Branson, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton. Who was the guy? The magician. That one was kind of funny to me too.
Which one?
David Copperfield.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Wasn't he the guy who made like the Statue of Liberty or some kind of big building disappear? That was kind of funny.
Yeah, he's like probably it's him and David Blaine. They're like the top two magicians like to ever live, and Chris Angel. But.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So he was mentioned in that. So it just makes you curious. And no, I didn't read into who was a part of what. But I just really think that what I had in my mind was, here is the list of people. Bill Clinton. This is how you need to dumb it down for us. You need to dumb it down so it's consumable for idiots like myself to be like, hey, look at this guy. He's gross. That's what I was hoping for. And I can come on here and make jokes about it. Bill Clinton, you're weird. Richard Branson, you're weird. Donald Trump, not a great look. I will say I did read something on Trump where he was like, he was one of the people who was like, who went, but he was like, oh, like, yeah, I'm not cool with this.
No, did you see what they just also came out with? I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. Because there's another list coming out. But
Jesus, more reading.
Yeah, but
someone's got to break this down for us and just send me a dumbed down version of this.
But this is the biggest part of Epstein's like blackmailing smoke and mirror scene that really went on, and that's on probably why he got killed, because he had recordings of Bill Clinton, like actual. There's known recordings out there of him.
Right, he had the cameras in the room, right?
And Prince Andrew. That's
okay. That was another creep.
Prince
See,
Andrew?
I believe that guy creepy 100%. Him and
Yeah.
Hawking.
Yeah, Prince Andrew. They said there's footage of Prince Andrew and Bill Clinton went underage, like that there was cameras in the room, but
Yeah.
I don't think any of them knew these things. Obviously, at the time, it's kind of one of those power moves, like, hey, just let you know,
We got this.
So I mean, you can come back, but we're gonna need you to do whatever we say now, type of thing,
The whole royal family to me is just fucking like I've like zero respect for the royal family.
Really?
Yeah, zero. Like I don't feel anything. Like it's not even that I have zero respect. It's almost like I feel nothing
What about
for
Princess
you.
Diana?
they could walk in.
She was like obviously she got killed by pretty much.
Yeah, she was cool, but the point that I'm trying to get to is like, how are these people worshipped when they do nothing? They're just born into. Cool. They're just born. She was cool. Like
yeah, she was. She was an angel.
But like the old lady who just passed, everyone was like,
Elizabeth,
"Oh, the Queen,"
Elizabeth.
and it's like,
it's kind of
bro,
cool.
I heard some like shitty things about this
really?
lady. Yeah,
What'd
bro.
You hear?
I mean, you just hear stories of like racism and how she treated and belittled people and all these things, and it's like, why are these people worshiping these people when it's like, what did you do to earn your spot?
How
what
old
were
was
you?
she? Like
You were
100?
born. I don't care.
Think about it, bro. Back in the day, if racism was what it was, but you're a queen.
Okay, but what did you do to earn that?
It's
like what if I told you, hey,
grandfather did.
I'm a king in Mexico? Would you be like, oh, I'm gonna worship Vic? No, you'd be like, you're just a guy. Like to me, you're a jag, just a guy. That's what the queen was. She's a jag, just the girl, just the guy. But yeah, like I don't know, like these people like the queen, and it's just like, I mean, at least with the Pope, I get it, like they have the spiritual thing to them. Like these people, they were just born. It's like, I am the king, bow down. And it's like, what have you done for me? Yeah, I mean, we don't even live in the same country. The whole king queen thing is just like seems so ancient and invalid to me. Like,
yeah, I just think it's a very cool piece of like history, like thoughtfully. You're like castles and queens, kings, dungeons and peasants. That's the thing of it. That's the mentality of a queen. I'm a queen, royal family, and everyone else is peasants.
I get that, and yes, that part is cool, but it's almost like when you didn't do nothing to earn whatever status that you have, it just doesn't sit right. It just like, bow to the queen because I am the queen. Like I've never liked that.
Yeah. No, I get that. It's kind of self-entitlement. Like, yeah, it's not fun. It doesn't.
What did you do?
Attractive.
Did you go out there and slay dragons to earn your title? No. Like, do something. Like if someone said like she became the queen because she battled through and she led this war and she did this, and I'd be like, hell yeah, that's the queen. But it's just like, nah, she was just born and this is her title. It's just like just some old lady walking around. Get the fuck out of my face. You don't mean nothing to me.
How do you feel about a president?
Well, presidents at least have to.
Well, a president is essentially a king or queen.
Because they're not given that from birth. They did something to earn it. Now,
okay,
politics is grimy altogether. So I'm not like sitting here glorifying whoever's president, whether Democrat or Republican. You're an idiot if you are one of these people who worships a certain party. I think that's a lot of the issue that we have today, where
100%.
it's like I'm a Democrat or I am a Republican. Too many people are worried about being right instead of getting it right. Why don't we look at the things that are correct and the best in everyone's interest instead of just looking, oh, my political party said this, so this is what I'm going to believe now. Yeah. It's like, you're an idiot. Like Democrat, Republican, why? There's got to be a way for us to look out for the best interest of everyone instead of just my political party said this. Because there's been things that have been flip-flopped from the political parties altogether, where it's like, we used to be the political party of this, and all of a sudden they flip-flop, and now all the idiots, people talk about like, oh, sheep and this, and like both sides. You just take whatever your political party is saying, and you run with it. You create the memes of it. You create the viral videos of it. And it's just like, you can do that for both sides. So worshiping any political party instead of trying to get it right, you're trying to be right. And I think that is the root of the problem.
I
Argue with your mama.
I think the biggest part of politics is the truth is most Republicans and Democrats aren't fully Republican or Democrats. They kind of pick and choose what they. There's a lot of Republicans don't agree with everything within the thought process or laws or what they're pushing. Being a Republican, same thing on the Democratic side, you know.
But the people, the audience, the voters are.
Yeah.
And that's where things get mushy because this is not a political podcast.
I know. I just think people stick to their side and whatever name that is or category rather than like for me, I'm more of a person like, oh, I agree with this and I agree with this. They're on separate ends, but what actually makes sense? But the problem is some make sense within this Democratic side, some make sense within the Republican Party.
Absolutely.
So now you can't really do nothing.
And it sucks that we can't have like something in the middle. Like, why can't, hey, this is going to be the best for this and this is going to be the best for that? It's like, no, you have to either take a side and you have to take the good with the bad. It's just like, why can't we just do what's best for the country?
Yeah.
If we really all love this country, we're only doing the best to fit your political party rather than to fit what's best for the country. So I don't want to hear nobody saying like, oh, I love this because I love my country. It's like, no, if you really loved it and you really wanted better, we take the best from this and we take the best from this. And I know what I'm saying is easier said than done because shit just doesn't work like that. But that's what I'm saying. It's like we sit here and be like, this is the right side or that is the right side. It is just like, actually, you're both idiots. And if you really wanted to work together to make it better, we would, but we don't.
No one ever. You gotta we're just humans, bro. We all have different thoughts, emotions, perspectives, and it's never gonna be in the same. We're never gonna sit on the same side. That's unfortunate, but this is what it is, you know. And that's why I try to stay away from politics as much as I can, to be honest.
Yeah, that's why we don't talk politics here.
So we'll cut this out. I'm just kidding.
So I need you to cut this out immediately. I always said, like, if I was, I used to joke with one of my coworkers about this because he came from, like, a rough background and, you know, he had, like, friends who, like, you know, kind of, he grew up in the hood and he had, like, friends like, yeah, my homies went to jail and they told me stories and I'd be like, you know what, man, if I went to jail, I'd be friends with everybody. I was like, Bloods, Crips, Blacks, Whites, Mexicans, everybody. And he would just laugh and then I just knew how to take it. Like, he would just laugh at me so hard and I'd be like, hello, my brothers. Black, white, Mexican, Asian. We may all look different on the outside. I'd give a speech like this. I'd stand on one of the tables. But if you really cut us down, we all bleed red. We all have beating hearts. My brothers and my sisters and the struggles that we all came up here together. Dude, I'd give a monster speech. And then I would tell him that I was like, everybody would be like carrying me around like Rudy, you know, like those celebrating me. And he'd be like, you are such an idiot. That's not how things work. And I'd be like, that's how I would work. And that's if I was president, that's how it would work in my head. But that's why I'll never be anything near that. Let's continue with the show because we getting into some deep waters there.
Yeah.
And not that I don't want it to, we just got a lot of other things. So
For sure.
the Epstein list, looking forward to someone somewhere just give me names. Like, I don't want context. I don't want to sift through or read anything. I'm disappointed in the list. That's what I wanted. I wanted the names. I wanted the list. Boom, bang, 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 bang. That's what I wanted. Dumb it down. Argue with your mama. Next story I wanted to talk about was one of the most fascinating things that I think happened, and it just really speaks to the world that we're living in now in 2023 and 2024. Because last year, and there's a great lesson in this, the Stanley Cup, not the hockey one, the vacuum sealed phenomenon that we can
Why
truly
do you say
say.
vacuum sealed?
Because that's what they call them. They're like vacuum sealed, or that's what they literally call them, like vacuum sealed drink. Yeah, where it keeps your drink cold or hot, whatever, for so many hours. So it's obviously gone crazy. A lot of the people who are listening to this are probably sipping out of their little Stanley Cup right now. But it's actually a fascinating story because, as a lot of people know now, maybe a lot of the male listeners that we have listening, they're like, yeah, whole time I was the one buying Stanley Cups, and now it's my wife buying Stanley Cups. Her and my daughter got all the Stanley Cups. It's actually a fascinating story because Stanley Cups has been an incredibly successful company for, over 100 years.
Yeah. 1909. I'm just kidding.
Everything's just started in 1909.
1909.
Everything. Stanley Cups, Arrowhead of Water. But their target audience has always been the male industrial worker, the guy who gets up at 4 and gets off of work at 4, working, 6 days a week, the industrial worker who needs that coffee, who just needs that water to keep them going, whatever it is. But I read this great article, and it was talking about how the Stanley Cup is such a great example of you don't necessarily always need a brand new product, because that quencher, there's nothing that's changed with the Stanley Cup. The drink, it does the same thing, has the same functions. It actually looks really similar. They didn't make a major change to this to make this a massively successful year. What did change was their marketing strategy. They've always targeted industrial, working, tough men.
Yeah, it's
but
like
now,
a camping, almost like.
Yeah, camping, hiking, working, all
1913, by the way.
1913, so a little over 100 years. But now what they did in 2023 was they started flip-flopping not their product, not what they're doing, but their audience. Brilliant. Same product, same everything, same functions. But what they started doing is targeting the mom, the female, the stay-at-home mom, the mother with 2 kids or whatever it is, and they started working with influencers to target that audience. And once you get that audience, it becomes, especially these influencers are just that. They are massive influencers. And I know a lot of people want to be like, I will not be influenced, I am above it. It's like, the truth is, it's like these numbies speak for themselves. And I read a story, and it said that the reason that it became so viral is that there was an Instagram page of 3 women who kind of got a hold of the Stanley Cup. They were like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, this is fantastic. And they read somewhere that that Stanley was getting ready to discontinue this version of the cup. And they said, no, we love it, we need to keep it alive. So they go on their Instagram that has thousands of followers, and they said, hey guys, we found this quencher, the Stanley Cup, blah, 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 and we need you guys to keep it on, to keep it alive, because there's rumors that it's getting ready to be discontinued. So what they did is they created this whole scheme of hey, everybody go out and buy it. And they saw a spike in this, and they got a hold of the ladies, who was 3 ladies, who ran this page, and said, we're going to send you 5,000 of these quenchers, figure out a way to get rid of them or sell them or whatever it is. So they end up selling that first batch of 5,000 for, or in couple days, maybe 5,000 in a couple days, which is great. So because of that, and they sold out so quick, they were like, okay, we're going to send you another 5,000. That second batch, that second wave, ended up selling out in hours. It was insane. So it's a great lesson, and sometimes your product is that good. You're just targeting the wrong audience. You just need a new audience to reach out. And I think there's a great lesson within this, because I feel like so many times we sit here beating ourselves up over how do I make this better? How do I make this? And maybe it's it might be the smallest thing that you need to change in order to be a massive success. What's that saying? It takes 10 years to be an overnight success. That's a great line.
Never heard it.
It only takes 10 years to be an overnight success. How many people do you hear about that become
now it's funny you say that. Rafa, the Espinoza, he's a 10-year boxing veteran, bro. He became overnight. His life changed overnight that day when he boxed. Crazy, he said.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite lines. It's so often we see these people who kind of come up on the rise, and you're like, man, this guy's brand new. Where'd he come from? It's like, no, there's actually been like 10 years of grind that he's put into this, along with the natural talent that they have and preparation. And yeah, very, very few overnight, really just like random successes. And I try to take that into this podcast because, I think we all want things. We live in a microwave society where it's like, no, I want this microwaved and I want this to happen fast. And it's just like, really, things take time to cook. It's an oven when you really want the real success.
Yeah, I mean, look at the podcast. You get 1,000 subscribers. Look at 10 years down the road. If you stay consistent for 10 years,
Yep.
you're probably at 100,000 or 1,000,000. But it's the whole lay a brick at a time.
Yep. One of my radio heroes, his name's Bobby Bones. I just saw a freaking, actually, if I could pull it up quick enough, I'll play it. But I was watching it last night, and it was so inspiring. He basically talked about, he's like, I just kept showing up every day. He's like, and this is one of the things that I learned doing radio. It was the coolest thing to hear him say it, because that was something that I learned a while ago. You don't have to be great every day. You have to show up, you have to do the work, and you only have to be great occasionally, because that's what's, you have to be good and consistent right here.
Great every day, but every showed up. And you don't have to be great every day, but every day you have to show up and at least take a shot at it. Let people know that you're going to be there. I was consistently good and sometimes great. I just kept kicking the door till finally it opened. And when you do it differently, like Super Coffee's doing it, when you do it differently, it's always so different until you have success, and then all of a sudden you're the way that everybody now wants to do it. You're the roadmap. And it was easy. Oh, well, look at those guys. And all of a sudden Super Coffee's an overnight success, and I've been grinding for 25 years, like going as hard as I possibly could.
Send me that. If you can.
That was incredibly inspiring, because it's
100%.
like,
I love that.
and I'll tell you right now, like, I've been at the point where people are like, you're an idiot for leaving radio. You're an idiot for this.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, I'm taking a lot of the blows right now. A lot of people have been like, oh, you shouldn't have done this. You should have done it this way. You should have done it that way. And it's like,
There's no right way to do
whenever, like, let's say I believe in this, so I believe that someday this is going to be a success. But it's not. People aren't going to stop calling me an idiot until I am a success. And then they're going to be like, man, he had a vision. You're not shit until it's proven on paper, or people see you driving that nice car, buying that nice house. There's like, whatever it is, people need to see you have success in order to believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
They don't. I have a lot of people who are like, who are pretending to support, or like, do all these things where it's like, yeah, man, great what you're doing, but behind closed doors, they're like, yeah, I don't know why he's doing this.
I think we've talked about this in episodes, but we didn't really know each other when you came,
Yep.
I'm so strong with, I know when I've had my own visions, say like Bakersfield bike rentals, everyone's like, what? Like a bike rental in Bakersfield? Like, no one can see what you see. No one could. No one knows the route you're trying to take. And as long as you believe in whatever it is in your mind, and you take the first step, which you took every step towards where we're at right now, it's admirable, and you have to respect it. But at the end of the day, whoever didn't see it, whoever didn't know it, you're showing that that you brought it to life,
And I think you have to have like a unique vision. It's almost like, because I know you have it too, as far as like, with starting your other businesses, in the sense of like, if you saw what everybody else was seeing, then it's just like, well, you're not really any different.
Yeah.
When you have a unique vision, when you have something that you're like, oh, this is the road that's been traveled. Like he said in that video, he's like, it's like suddenly you become, when you have success with whatever you're doing, suddenly you become the roadmap. Suddenly you become the model of, you're like, oh, well, this is the way. Joe Rogan's a perfect example. Joe, like, podcasting, what the hell's podcasting? Now everybody's like, oh, well, Joe Rogan has these guests. Joe Rogan talks about this. Joe Rogan has these clips. And at first people were like, what are you doing? You're an idiot. Like, but look at him now, and people are like, man, what a creative, like, brilliant mind to think of that. And it's just like, yeah,
He's the pioneer of
exactly.
podcast, I seen this thing, you probably don't know him. His name's Lil Russell. He's a rapper in the Bay. I seen this yesterday. He said, every time I make a post, I give myself the first like. And I always used to think it was a stupid thing to be like, I'm gonna like my own post. And honestly, bro, I'm gonna probably start doing it starting now.
Explain this, because I'm not a fan of liking your own
Me
post. type of
either,
day.
bro. He said, you know what? I'm gonna actually read it out loud to you because it's kind of like what you just put, and it puts things into perspective of people that believe in themselves, on the highest level, and I think you have to. So he said, when I post, I'm always my first like. Soon as it goes up, uh, soon as it goes up, it sets the tone for me. A reminder that if nobody else fucks with me or what I'm doing, I do. Every piece that went viral, I liked that shit first. The world will do its best to drain you of your self-confidence. I refuse. I'll always be my first like. Bro, when
That's
it's put
deep.
that way,
Yeah.
it's like, why am I not liking my post first? Right when I post it, why am I used to be like, why is this fool liking his own post? Like, does he really care about the extra like that much? But if you change, again, perspective, mindset. And if you're the first person that believes in yourself, which I've carried forever, bro, because no one ever believes in shit I say or do, like at some point. But it starts with the energy that you're giving yourself. And that's a positive light right there. So
Yeah, you're starting it off on the right foot. You're like,
Yeah.
all right, well, it's almost like you're blocking out the noise, and you're
Yeah.
like, whether this does good or it doesn't,
Yeah.
I believe in it.
yeah,
And I think that speaks volumes. So from that perspective, I like the message behind it. But I will say, this is just straight up, like when I see like somebody post, and then you know what else is bad? It's like, and I think when you like your own post, like I think I'm like, damn, like that's reaching. But you know what else is worse? Like people buying likes, people
Oh,
buying
yeah.
views. I cannot stand that shit.
There's
you buy
something
that,
in me
that's
I'll
so
never be
corny.
able to do, yeah.
Like
I'll just
that's
never be able
so
to do
corny,
that.
bro. Like that's like buying followers, buying likes, buying like, and you could tell like like, come on, dog.
You have
That's pathetic.
267 followers, but you still getting 13 likes. Like you're like, what?
Yeah,
This makes no sense.
it's wild. But yeah, I'd rather flop a million times than be like, all right, well now I have to buy my success. It's like no, because that doesn't translate to anything anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah, Stanley Cup, massive success. So it could be a great lesson you take into it. Maybe you're onto something. Believe in what it is, and maybe try a different strategy rather than trying to break this down and restart whatever it is. Try things. It's okay to fail. Everything's a learning. Next thing I wanted to talk about was actually, let's get into our fun facts. Fun facts are in case you didn't know. Still working on the yeah. We gotta
What
get.
was that?
Do we have any other ones?
I think
Hello. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a whole podcast like this. This what happens when you start playing around with things.
you start pushing buttons that you don't know who.
Bobby, I pushed the rug button.
Hello. This is cool. Houston, we got a problem. We should not be doing this live on the podcast, but here we are.
Yeah, you're there.
Mic check. Actually, I would have massive radio success if I had a deep voice like this instead of talking like a little bee.
Hey, how's mic check?
Hello? All right, we're back. Sorry about that, folks. Let's get into our fun facts. We call these In Case You Didn't Know. All right, in case you didn't know, the airplane, the Boeing 787, must be turned on and off every 51 days to prevent catastrophic failure. In case you didn't know, that's scary. Like, imagine you're like, did someone turn this motherfucker on and off? Imagine being the one guy who's in charge of, you got to turn this on and off. That is scary. Catastrophic failure, that's a big responsibility. Give that guy, whoever it is, or girl a raise. What do you do for a living? I turn on and off 787s is probably the most important thing that I do. In case you didn't know, a new study finds that 1 in 4, listen to this, 1 in 4, folks, that is 25% of adults will be single the rest of their life. In case you didn't know, we'll come back to that one. And finally tonight, in case you didn't know, koalas can sleep up to 20 hours a day. Relatable. In case you didn't know, what do you think about that? 1 in 4, 25% of adults single for life. That's interesting.
1 in 5?
1 in 4.
1 in 4. Wow. I don't know, man. This era makes me wish I was like in that 1920s, 1930s, like true love, romantic era where it's not just all complicated with all these different elements that ruin almost everything. There's so many things that to why that statistic I think is what it is, and I think we get good reviews on this when we start talking about relationships because I think a lot of your viewers are women. But I think the biggest problem right now, and this is for men too, but I think the higher percentage is women. Anytime there is an issue in relationships now, social media has pressed so much on the self-love, self-healing phase of life that it almost tricks you into believing there's an issue here. I don't like this. What's wrong with me? Or where's my trauma? Where's my trigger in this? Let me go back to fixing what is within this and focus on that before I jump into something again. So they disconnect, and then the next thing comes, and now there's this other cycle of this self-healing phase again because there's another issue. So I think a lot of things people don't recognize, like how, when, or what issues to really push through.
And the other part of that is, because I agree with you, is like social media also leads you to believe that there's a perfect being out there for you. You're gonna wait for somebody that is perfect for you, that understands you left, right. Instead of like, look, nobody's gonna be perfect for you. Nobody's gonna be your Prince Charming or your Princess Charming, you know?
Yeah.
It's like there's issues that you're going to have to work with, but social media says the perfect person's going to be there for you and you won't have to worry about these things. And there are certain things that I don't think you should worry about when you're in true love, but that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be things that you have to work through in any relationship. You're perfect being. So it's like when there is an imperfection, when there's something, it's like, instead of being like, how can I work on this? How can I be better? It's like, that person's not meant for me because social media told me that this is going to be perfect and I wasn't going to have to deal with it. So if I'm dealing with it, that means you're not my perfect person.
Yeah. Michelle Obama just went on a podcast with Jay Shetty, and he said something about relationships or couple goals. And she's like, I don't want people to look at me and Barack as couples goals because the truth is, you guys see the outside, but we deal with so many things with understanding that he's flawed, I'm flawed, but we respect each other, we like each other, we love each other, and we know in the end of all of it, we're going to work through these things because we respect each other at the end of the day, and we know what comes with this flawed, imperfect person that I chose to share this life with. And I think that's the simple meaning of like real relationships. It's who are you? Because you can fall out of love with anybody. If you don't do the self-work to be like, this is the person I love and this is the person that I appreciate or whatever it is, and communicate and talk and find all those things within. If you don't do that on a daily basis, I think that anything will fall apart. I remember like when I was in a very long-term relationship, I remember every day I almost felt like I started my day like, man, I really love this person. And it was just to remind myself of, you know, who I'm choosing to be with and the relationship. So I don't think people do that back all the time. And then it just kind of, you know, goes its way.
I think it's a fascinating thing to talk about. I already wrote it down. That's going to be our opening topic next. It's like, why are people choosing to be single? Why are younger adults choosing to be like, you know what, I'm okay with just being single the rest of my life. And that is going to we can get into a deeper conversation and long in depth, more of a long form conversation rather than just like an opening rant. But because it is interesting, it's like we can give our takes on what we see, and it's just like, yeah, I understand it, rather than the old traditionals like, you have to get married, you have to have a kid, and you have to have your wife. It's like these ideal situations or whatever you want to call them, they are not what they used to be. Or maybe they've always been this way, but social media's exposed so much more. But we, like I said, we'll start next episode with that.
Yeah, I literally feel this is one of those things that could go on forever and ever if you really want to talk deep into today's society's mentality of relationships, and whether it's a guy or girl, and why or why not do relationships work out and don't work out, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. On to less important, really irrelevant, and nobody really cares, and things to talk about is Eric eliminated me and he won in fantasy football. And moving on to the next topic, we are gonna be, no, he did. We were talking about how we were facing off in the playoffs, and it was me and you for third place, which normally third place is nothing to brag about, but there are financial repercussions when it comes to this.
Oh, 100%.
The winner didn't have to pay their league fees, and our league is $200. So essentially, you get to keep $200 in your pocket, or you get your $200 back.
And let's just say it, you know, these are trying times in the economy.
Jesus,
you know,
boy.
that $200 was
Me
nice,
and you were
bro.
fighting. We were like,
And the funny thing is, we both know, and we're like, please.
yeah, anybody.
Yeah.
But he won, and it's one of those, like, I feel like I deserve.
He didn't
to
write me or
lose.
talk to me for like a couple of days.
Yeah, it's the first time we've talked since 2023. And but yeah, so congratulations and fucking. But yeah, next year will be different, and it'll be. I think we had a really good put a bow on a really fun fantasy football. When you talk about the trip, congratulations to our boy John. He won first place. Kenjamin Franklin, our other
He
boy,
killed it, man. It's you know why? He put his name King.
Yeah,
Mr.
he spoke
Queen
it
and King
into
over here. Yeah.
he spoke it into existence, and it felt right to have one of those two win because they were like truly the best two teams. I was like, you can't be mad. Highest total, like they went back and forth in that championship. So
Even we did. Actually, you went above on the percentages for a little bit.
yeah,
Because all my players are giving, like all my good players are giving average like 6, 7, 8, 10 points. And then I had one guy go off for 20-something, 30, and that was really
well,
what helped.
I will say, I had 0 touchdowns from all my players
Wow.
except the quarterback, and I had to start Derek Carr because it's Trevor Lawrence situation. It was just bad. Like it was all bad. Austin Eckler, biggest disappointment overall. Like we don't need to get into it. Long story short,
The season's
congratulations.
over.
Yeah, why are we talking about the season's way over? Like we're on the playoffs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so congratulations. Moving on. Golden Globes were on last night, and this is the only thing I wanted to touch on. This is what I wrote down on my notes. Golden Globes were on. Does anyone care?
I didn't even know, honestly, till I seen a reel yesterday.
That is
what's
better
her-
than my no.
what's her name from Marvel? She's like Miss Marvel in the new big one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, J-Lo walked up to do an interview, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, that's J-Lo. She's literally my idol. I watched Selena, and that made me want to be an actor."
That's
and
cool.
they had this interaction, and she was like almost having a panic attack, bro. Like, and I was like, "Is this from like old Golden Globes, like an old resurfaced clip, or?" And then you talked about it, I said, "Okay, I guess it was from whenever recent." So yeah, J-Lo.
But long story short, you just
I
summed it
didn't
up
know.
perfectly. I didn't know that they were on, and nobody cares. Nobody like it's just yeah. Sunday Night Football was on. I was watching the Dolphins and the Bills juke it out, and I was losing money on some bets. Okay, so there you have it. Golden
Yeah.
Globes, you can't bet on that. Actually, you can, but topic for another time. That's for real.
You really
degenerates.
could.
Yeah, you can bet. Like who's gonna win
Wow.
Best Picture? Who's gonna?
I
Bet.
think someone that has a problem only knows that.
Moving on. So this story was really crazy. Speaking of, Boeing 500s and airplanes, and did you see the story about the was it United Airlines, Alaskan Airlines, one of those. Yeah.
Alaska Airlines.
So about 15 minutes into its flight, this not window, not door, it's a whole ass panel flies off of the plane. And I thought one of the craziest things was that I didn't read anybody was hurt or injured.
No. It was funny. I seen a comedian to hear more or something, dude. He's like, how the hell? He's like, I like to leave my head on the window.
Yeah.
He said, what if I just imagine, bro? And here's the worst part. Imagine if most people leave their head on the window, something comfortable, and they unbuckle themselves to be comfortable during the flight.
Mm-hmm.
You very well could have got sucked out of that spot.
Exactly. Because, all that force is going to be sucking everything out.
Decompressed. Yeah, it's crazy.
Lucky people on the plane getting sucked
A kid did. I guess a kid that was sitting closest to that space, his shirt got ripped off. But again, a comedian, he's like, how loose does your shirt have to be to get ripped off? He's like, I can't even rip my shirt off. So it was just funny.
But yeah, that was crazy. So the other part of that crazy story was that, did you see the story about the iPhone?
Yeah, that it fell 16,000 feet.
16,000 feet, still working perfectly. And I think iPhones and new phones really in general get a bad rap because we joke about the Nokia phones where you're like, if you drop a Nokia phone, like pray for the cement on the floor, I was like, I really do think iPhones are becoming a lot more durable and a lot more.
Well, it was the case. No one knows what case it had on it, but
fucking OtterBox, whatever. But it probably had like
it's like the Stanley thing.
Yeah.
Really. I
think it must have landed like in something soft because there's no OtterBox that's gonna
a backyard jumper.
Yeah,
like
perfect soft landing on my booty. It had the softest landing that any man could have
on Vic's booty.
And it just perfectly trickled down.
I just wonder. My questions within it. I was like, wait, how did you know it was from that flight? Where did you find it?
Well, it's been from a passenger.
How did the passenger find it? Oh, they probably
you call that motherfucker or AirTags, yeah.
Yeah, you go find. Okay.
So yeah, that's a fascinating story. It's just another one of those like, I want to do some flying, and it's just like, well, there's another fear unlocked. I didn't know that these panels could just fly off spontaneously at any moment.
Like I said, I wish I was sitting right there. I would have
died.
You would have made out. No, if your seatbelt's on and then you just kind of over panic, you're like, ah. Like,
I'm not a seatbelt person though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, say you're on that flight, sitting next to that window, it blows off. And you're right there hanging onto a seat, acting. Let's just say you're not going to fly out. You're acting like you're keeping yourself held in. And that's a traumatic experience, I would definitely make sure Alaska Airlines compensates. I'm sure people are all going to sue. So everyone in that plane is probably going to get some type of small settlement.
Small?
Yeah.
I'd be like, hell no, it ain't going to be small. I don't want to work another day for the rest of my life. Put it that way. Last topic that, and this one actually you brought up before we actually started recording. I think you made some fascinating points about it. The Katt Williams.
Biggest thing in 2024.
It's the Shannon Sharpe, Katt Williams interview. After like 4 or 5 days, it was like 30 million views. He was calling everybody out.
It was that and the dude jumping over the judge's desk.
Yeah, that one is pretty funny.
Yeah.
And I just changed my life, and I think that I deserve this opportunity. It's like, and she was like, no, and he's like, man, what the fuck?
Fuck you, bitch, and then just took
Just
off.
went.
He flew.
Yeah,
They
said
weight.
Troy Polamalu on 4th and 1.
That is hilarious. They showed. I seen a clip where it was Nacho Libre jumping off of the top of the thing. And he just keeps flying. He never
Yeah. People don't miss, and
They
they're
don't.
quick with him, bro.
Oh man, people are creative. Katt Williams. He literally, and he wasted no time. You have an intro into your podcast. I'm talking minute number 1. I think I heard that he was like, Martin Lawrence tried to put me in my first dress. He just started going in and saying, that dude Smiley on Friday, like he was part of or was supposed to be part of like a rape scene. Actually, everyone tried to clear it up. And I don't want to say cool. The crazy thing is, there's this podcast with Joe Budden. He said, all I know is Katt Williams went in on some of the biggest names in the industry, and they all came back at him very. No one tried to go crazy on him, like, oh, I'm going to catch you in the street. Everyone was like, they give their subtle reaction or explanation. Most people in today's society stay quiet when someone does something like that. They're like, I'm not going to give it attention, but it happened in a way where a lot of people almost had to defend themselves. He said a lot of stuff about the Friday thing. Katt Williams pretty much said that rape scene, you know what I'm talking about, where he Terry Crews, goes in there, or like the Debo
In what movie?
in Friday, where Katt Williams essentially got his name.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, like, he goes in the bathroom, he's like, ah, and
Right.
the next thing he has a nutcracker thing. That was supposed to be a rape scene of him. And Katt Williams said, please don't let this be this, whatever. It'll be 10 times better or whatever if we do it this way. And they end up doing it that way. But Ice Cube talks about that scene and why stuff got you. There was just there's so many things that he said. And I didn't know this. Katt Williams his IQ is at a genius level. Do you know? If you watch him, he talks very well. He knows what he's talking about. And there's a point, kind of like Dave Chappelle, they made him seem like he was on drugs. And this
Right. I do remember that.
and you could never really, if you really dig deep, you can't find stuff like, oh, this dude was on crack or blah, blah, blah. He used to be homeless before all this stuff. And he said, the difference between homeless people that I stayed on the streets with and everyone else is the only difference is they made a bad choice. He said, and they stayed there in that. He's like, some of these people were lawyers, blah, 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 blah. He said, but, he got to where he was at. And he was talking about that everyone in this industry is where he went in on Kevin Hart. And there's so many receipts for these things. So he ends up just talking about he chose his route. And that was him doing things on his own and not having to say. He talked about Gary Owens. You know Gary Owens, right? The
Was
white
that
comedian.
Yeah.
He was like, why do you think Gary Owens never crossed over? He's white. He's funny. But he's never made that like super big jump to being an all-star. And then Gary Owens came on and did it. He has his podcast. He's like, I didn't know if he was talking crap about me yet. He's like, so I had to go to Twitter. People are like, no. He's pretty much saying like, Gary Owens never sold out.
It's like getting shadow banned.
So Gary Owens talks about, he's like, look, I'm going to say this. I'm not going to say the name. He said, but I will say there was a point early in my career where I was in like a casting couch situation. He's like, I don't want to, he's like, I was sitting there like, oh shit, this is this moment where it's like, do you want to, like, would you suck some dick to be a millionaire? He said, I don't want to say it was that. He's like, it felt like that's where that was headed. And he's like, I didn't suck no dick. That's all I'm going to say, but he started breaking all these things down, bro. He's talking about Kevin Hart said, I would never wear a dress until he started wearing a dress. Martin Lawrence, I'll never wear it. He's like Big Mama. He asked him to wear a dress in Big Mama House 2 or something like that. He said, fuck this. Like, he just is big on the stance he has. And honestly, everyone saying something, really, it seems like they're almost trying to defend themselves and not make it seem like what he says is real. But no one could shy away from the fact that they could find things that show what he's saying is real. The Bernie Mac, Steve Harvey thing, there's receipts showing Bernie Mac saying, don't do your jokes in front of other big comedians. They'll steal your stuff because you'll see it on HBO. He was essentially talking about Steve Harvey. That's why he stopped doing the Kings of Comedy. So
Yeah, that one, that's really taken over the 2024 altogether so far. And I think it is interesting, man. And I come from a world with my working background where it's like, you really do have to play a game. And it's not so much, are you talented? It's not so much, is your content good? It's not so much, it's like, are you kissing the right ass? Are you doing all these things? Because I got a lot of my credit and my flowers from people in DMs, from people in like it wasn't like a public thing. People were like, man, we see what you're doing. You're really doing things different in the country world and all these things. But it was like, I didn't have the connections as far as like, oh, the people who make these decisions as far as who's going to win these awards, who's nominated for these awards. You see the people who get nominated for things, and it's just like, bro, that is not good. It's either like you're kissing the right butt and you're shaking the right hands. And it's just like when you're not playing along that game, it's like, yeah, people are just going to kind of like tune you out or shun you out. But it's like, are you willing to play the game in order to achieve this whole thing? And for the most part, I just thought it was just became super corny. And I was like, I'm not playing this game. Like, I know what I can do. I know some of these people are just like, what are we doing? Like, you know, like you listen to them and you're like, there's a difference, you know? And once you realize and learn how that goes, it's just like, yeah, I don't really want a part of it.
Yeah.
I came into it thinking like, man, this is awesome. I'm going to work hard and I'm going to put together a good show. I'm going to have good ratings. I'm going to do good social media content. I checked all those boxes. And suddenly it's just like, oh, when it came down to recognition for these, I was like, this is going to be cool. I want to win an ACM. And I made these goals and I was like, I want to do this and I want to win these awards. And then you see the people who are actually winning them, or who it's like, I don't know if it's just because I was young and these people had been doing it for 20 plus whatever years. It's just like, oh, I see the game. Like, I see this. I never really had a shot, no matter how good it was.
It was always
just
who
like,
you know type of thing.
And again, are you willing to play the game? Are you willing to, you know, to play along with these people who are really the decision makers with these things? They're not really looking at content and talent and listening to your stuff. It's like, I like this person. This person did this for me. I'm going to do this for them. And it's just like everyone comes up there and is just like, I was nominated for this. And I'm just like, corny. Yeah.
Yeah. I got out of that circle a long time ago, bro. Like you know, like the mixers and you have to be around these consistent, you know, groups and events to be looked at as like, he's involved. Let's recognize what he's doing or she's doing all the time. I feel like I've gotten a Kern County Small Business Award back in 2015, but that was when I was involved. And I feel like there's a lot of times I feel like I could have got recognition for community service stuff. You know, things. I started the first bike rental service company ever in the history of Bakersfield. It was on the news, but I feel like it was never a thing like, hey, look what this person's trying to really.
Right.
It was weird.
And it's probably because you were young too. You're like, these old heads are like, man, no, we're not going to give them the credit because we've been doing it a lot longer.
Not even that I was young. I just put my head down, bro, and just focused on myself. Like I was never like trying to blast it in people's faces. Like, hey, I'm the one that did.
But I'm saying when it comes to the recognition part of it, the people who are in
100%.
charge are like these old heads who are like starting these businesses or been doing these businesses and running these businesses for years. And suddenly here comes this new kid with a new concept. And instead of trying to elevate it and give you your flowers, they try to suppress it and be like, nah, he hasn't earned it yet. Although you are the person who's come up with this concept, which I think is an incredible concept. We got to talk about that all together in another episode. But
yeah,
I think it goes along with. I relate a lot to the whole Katt Williams and how like it's nice to be able to hear somebody and it's like expose the truth, because so much of it is just like, you don't talk about this, you don't talk about that. There's a lot of things that happen at in the radio world that I never talked about. And it's one of two things. And this is, I truly feel this. If I talked about the things that were really going on and all the things that were really ugly about the radio world while I was working in radio, people would be like, how are you going to bash your industry? You are literally working in it and it is paying your bills and and you're doing whatever you're doing in radio. People are going to be like, you're never going to want to be hired again and this and that. So I never said anything. And then I leave radio and I still decide to say nothing. Because if you do say, then the script is, man, look at this guy. He's bitter about radio. It's like, no, I saw the truths and I saw what was going on. And I saw the suppression of talent. And I'm not even just talking about myself. I'm talking about like other people who were like really, truly talented, really gifted people. They weren't getting their opportunities. They weren't getting the things that they deserved. It was like you pick and choose who you like. And if you're in charge, you're going to elevate yourself and keep everybody else down. And I was like, I'm not okay with that. But everybody else in radio is okay with it because all they want is an opportunity. And they know that their ceiling is right here. So everybody's like, well, I'm lucky to have this. I didn't feel like I I felt like I was lucky to have the position that I was, but I also felt like this isn't it for me. Like at some point, it's like I wasn't okay with just being here. I was like, I've got so much more to give. And once I still started feeling suppressed, I was like, I know that I can do more. And I saw the real like injustices that were going on. So I was like, I'm out. Peace.
Yeah.
But if I spoke ill on that, then people are gonna be like, how are you gonna bash your job while you're working there? And then if I leave, it's just like, oh, look, he's bitter about leaving. First of all, I left on my own.
Yeah.
There's no bitter.
Sometimes it's just time to move on, bro. The thing about entrepreneurship or starting your own thing, it has to be a very selfish thing you do. And sometimes, and I learned this even over the last year, sometimes you have to cut off certain friends, bro, for a little bit, or old friends that don't empower like your growth. They talk about the rubber band effect of the higher you go, that rubber band of friends, family, whatever starts pulling you back down because you feel like you're going too high and they're being left behind. And the comfort zone is being back there with
Hey,
them.
be with us. We're
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Why
What
are you
doing?
taking off?
And then it's like, oh, Vic changed. No, I didn't. I've just not around you guys or this stuff as much.
It's like
because,
we all should have changed.
yeah. And that's why the unfortunate thing is you'll see a lot of friends from high school or junior high or even college. You're like, these people have their own lives, whether it's a family or they're working their 9 to 5, which is totally fine. But my goals, and it's nothing against anyone else, are just bigger. And if
They're
I'm gonna
different, yeah.
go there, it doesn't involve you guys kicking it with me and drinking every weekend because I can't do that no more. I can't go, or me staying in my city where it's comfortable. I don't, bro. This is the first year I've probably not got to see like friends and family like I was used to my whole life.
Yeah.
Straight up.
And that's big facts right there. You know, didn't have this lined up, but over the weekend, I had some friends who ran into another friend, a person who I consider like a really close friend of mine, and they were like, "Yo, what happened between you and so and so?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "That's my homie, like all day. That's all love." And they were like, "Really?" Because they weren't speaking on you the way that a friend would speak on a friend, and it's just like, you know. It's like, how are you going to, pretend to support? It's just, this is such a different lane to take, not because we're doing something that's, never been here. We're doing a podcast. Everybody has a podcast. But in Bakersfield, things are really different. Things are very, you get you go to school, college is not a priority here the way it is in like bigger cities or whatever. Going to school, getting out of your city is not a priority. It's very, you go to school, you go to college, great. You get a job, you find a family, you buy a house, you have a kid, you do all these things. And when somebody deviates from that, it's like, man, look at, he's falling behind. Why doesn't he have a kid? Why doesn't he have a family? And all these things. These people that are in these situations look at me like, I'm doing what I have to do to fulfill this vision that I have. And then they're out there just talking on me like, man, yeah, he's really dumb for doing this. And and it's just like, bro, I don't mind if people talk crap about what I'm doing. I understand it's different and it's not for everybody. But don't pretend to be my friend and don't pretend to be on my be in my circle. And I'm only speaking highly of these people that I'm like, no, I am somewhere because of my friends. But then they run into someone, they're like, yeah, Vic's an idiot for doing it. And I'm like, damn, we need to have a conversation because no ill will. Like you just certain people you don't need.
Yeah, 100%. And that doesn't, and that's to kind of go with, it doesn't mean that, close friendships don't have people who are like talking to their other friends about your group of friends. Like, hey man, why is he doing this? So that they might not see again, like what you see, and they might have that perspective or thought or feelings. But I mean, have that conversation though, especially if it's someone that you're close with. I guess you would say.
Yeah, I've been close with this. This is one of who I consider to be one of my closest friends, which is why I know I can have that conversation.
Yeah,
be like,
yeah.
yo, like.
And it might be as simple as like, oh, honestly, bro, I feel like it was a safe. I've done things in a safe way. I feel like you just, and it's projecting most of the time. Like, oh man, I wouldn't do that. I can't do that, or I'd be scared to do that type of thing. And I think when you learn, I'm learning this too, but a lot of the times when we react or speak on certain things with other people, a lot of times it is projecting without us really even subconsciously even understanding or knowing where it's coming from, you know? So, yeah, have the conversation.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. But yeah, the Katt Williams exposing the industry and interesting stuff. All right, about ready for our trivia?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, you might
What
wanna
if I
pull
get it
away from
right
that. You're
in
not going to
the-
get it right.
in
What?
2024?
Maybe.
Started off with the right answer.
Well, you didn't get it right all 2023, so here we go. Before we get into our trivia question, brought to you by Rev Nutrition. Big shout out to them. Look forward to kind of continue to do more work with them and define and all these things. And stop in whatever your New Year's resolutions or goals or whatever it is. 20% off. Use the code. I love you. Say it back. Mention the podcast. However it is. Get in there. Shout out to all the people who have sent me screenshots or whatever of them. They're like, thanks for the 20% off. That is incredible. And I've talked about this before. That's how you support the podcast. How can I support? How can I support? The people that support us, support them. And then they see, they're like, oh man, like doing, being on this podcast is actually working. Let's do more work with them. So it's all trickles down. So support them because they support us. And so go check them out, Rev Nutrition. And plus, Define's just the greatest thing you'll ever take. And also the Mattress Space. Go check them out. Mattress Space, Furniture Outlet, Buck Owens Boulevard in Bakersfield. Boise's will take care of you. Best deals in town. My personal guarantee. My personal guarantee. Trivia. First trivia of 2024. How you feeling? Talk to me.
I don't feel good. Literally.
Yeah, and that goes for a lot of things. So let's get into it. All right, here we go. Drivers say that this is the most annoying thing to deal with while driving. Drivers say that this is the most annoying thing they deal with or we deal with while driving. What is it?
Does it when you know the answer, because obviously you do, does it connect with you? You're like, oh yeah, this makes sense.
I don't necessarily, to me, this isn't the most annoying, but I get pissed every time it happens.
Okay. I want to give like two answers almost.
Okay, I'll give you two.
Okay,
That's what
I'm gonna
you
say
get.
two off the bat. I want to either say people that cut you off.
Okay.
I guess that goes under like, not putting your signal on or
Right.
whatever it is, right? Or someone tailgating you, like they're on your ass.
It's 2024. I'll give you one more. Take another guess at it.
Okay. And this is the most annoying thing that drivers say annoys them.
Yeah. It wouldn't be my personal,
Yeah.
but
I want to
It
hear
is
yours
annoying.
after this. Though.
Yeah.
Give me like 5 seconds.
okay. So far we know it's not being tailgated and it's not using the turn signal or whatever.
Yeah, cutting you off.
Yeah, cutting you off.
Okay. Slow drivers.
Slow drivers, no, that's my number one. Slow drivers absolutely drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Drivers say this is the most annoying thing people deal with while driving. Potholes.
Ooh.
Potholes are absolutely infuriating.
Yeah.
And I think I just deal with slow drivers way more than I deal with potholes, which is why it would be
Yeah.
at the top of my list. But
Yeah, if you live in
potholes,
Mexico, you're hating potholes. Maybe this
Man.
is a statistic from like other countries. No roads.
nah,
I'm
it's
just
an
kidding.
American
I'm
website.
joking. I know. I'm kidding.
Spice us. But yeah, potholes, you go over one and you're like, somebody fix this. And then you start getting into your head about like paying all these tax dollars for this. And
Yeah.
you start getting into your bag about that.
I heard you could actually sue the city if like
Oh, if there's a major
if
pothole.
something happens to your car like during something like that.
Yeah, I could see that. That's interesting.
It's
We'll
just
have to
most
look
people
into it.
don't think of it or really want to go through the hassle of probably
Yep.
doing it.
Yep. So you go. That's our show. It is the Welcome to 2024 show. Things to leave behind. Absolutely loaded. Glad you guys were with us. We are wrapping things up here in the Creative Haven, brought to you by the Creative Crew. Follow our socials. Watch on YouTube. It's a completely different experience. A lot of the things, sometimes I forget that people sometimes only listen. So I'll be like doing things like, oh, like, you know, like an
Look
idiot.
at this.
Yeah, assuming that people are watching, but listen, absolutely, but also watch on YouTube. It's you get kind of the best of both worlds though. And thank you for tuning in. Again, brought to you by the Creative Crew. I am Victy at Victy Radio. That is our producer at Life of Vera. Follow the pod at ILY pod. Take that back. ILY Say It Back pod. You're at Life of Vera. Follow the Creative Crew everywhere with a K.
Yeah, creative with the K.
But yeah, until next time, we'll see ya. Have a good one. I love you. Say It Back. Live in downtown Bakersfield. That does it for I Love You Say It Back, the podcast.
2024.